Love peering into places where we don't often get to look, and I've got a guest with me in the studio this morning who's going to give us an idea of what it's like to spend time in the Australian Defence Force. He served in East Timor, Pakistan, Papua New Guinea and Afghanistan, and he's written a book. It's called Stop Screaming, I'm Scared Too. And he says on the back of it, well, the publishers say, whether it's the right place at the wrong time or just unlucky, he found himself in a series of life-threatening and traumatic events. Each one took its toll. His name is Rod Henderson, an Australian soldier's story. Stop screaming, I'm scared too. Rod, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me on, mate.
I love the title. Where does it come from?
Mate, it actually comes from a helmet patch I used to wear when I was a crewman on board the helicopters. I had it on the back of the helmet there, and it used to give a lot of people a bit of a laugh when they'd come up on the ramp and see me behind the door gun. And, well, little did I know it had sort of come true when we ended up crashing a chopper later in my career. But also, it's kind of the underpinning theme for the book, for all the crazy, unique experiences that I go through. But also, it lends itself to that storyline, but also to all the crazy experiences that a lot of regular soldiers have.
You need a sense of humour doing what you do in the military?
Yeah, that's right, mate. You do. You got to carry that through. Otherwise, like all jobs that can be a bit heavy, you'll go insane if you don't.
Tell me about the helicopter crash.
Mate, well, that's probably the last sequence in the book. That was when I was in the Chinooks in Afghanistan in 2012. We had a malfunction with one of the parts in the aircraft, and I'm sure that the tradesmen listening would want me to describe it, but I'm not going to and make a meal of that. It's just the part in the aircraft that broke. We essentially had a heavy landing, hit the ground, ripped the wheels off, blades bit in, and sort of tore off some of the blades and tore down the side of the aircraft. And so it was a very close call, as there are many that are in there. And
did you know when you were coming down, we've got trouble here? Do you get a warning? Or?
Yeah, we did, and that's in the first part of the book there that I used as a bit of a hook. We had a big jolt through the aircraft prior, and we sort of nursed it to this new base to try and land, because the place we're in before was too dangerous to shut down. So on approach to that new place, that's where it really went wrong.
So when you're bracing for a landing like that, and you've obviously got some warning, we've got a problem here. There's an issue with the chopper. It's not working the way it's supposed to work. Are you thinking this could be it? I've got a...
Oh, 100%.
Right.
100%, mate. And there's a number of times in the book I've thought, this is it. There's a Hewitt sequence in there where I drowned in the back of dry drowned in the back of a Hewitt trainer, which is a helicopter underwater escape trainer. There's numerous sequences in there, not just from the air crewman world, from my time in the infantry, just as a regular soldier, the events that came about with Inifet in 1999. So it's the 25th anniversary of that operation this year, when I was confronted with so many things just as a regular soldier, where you think, oh, my time's up here, I've done it. But
tell me about the closest call in the infantry.
Probably my closest call was when I was in Dili. I had a militiaman pull out a hand grenade on me at a vehicle checkpoint that we had, and that tended to bring home just how serious the job can be right there and then. Fortunately, the pin was still in, so we got it off him and wrestled him to the ground and got him inside. But
so hang on, he's pulled the grenade out.
Yep.
Has he motioned that he wants to pull the pin, or
no? We pulled them over off a moped because we thought they looked a bit sus. They'd gone through the checkpoint a couple of times and jumped out there on the road and pulled them over. And all of a sudden, he keeps rummaging through his bag, and we kept trying to tell him to get his hands out of his bag. And it's one of those points where you don't feel you're justified to shoot someone for it, so you're kind of waiting to see what happens, and all of a sudden he pulls out a hand grenade, and at that point you can't shoot them anyway, because if you do and they drop it, then it's bad for everyone. So
how heavily do you rely on your mates when you're in situations like that?
Oh, absolutely. They are what gets you through, and that's part of the reason I did so many things in my career, probably out of the need to not let those blokes down, all the men and women.
You've got to have absolute faith, right?
Oh, 100%. I was terrified of being a paratrooper. I never wanted to do it. I was never brave enough. But I just knew that the person in front of me was going to step out that door, and the one behind me was expecting me to go. So that's why I did it. I was too scared to let anyone down.
That's why the title of the book works. It's called Stop Screaming, I'm Scared Too by Rod Henderson. Tell me about Afghanistan. How frightening was Afghanistan?
Look, Afghanistan was... Look, it was a very interesting place, and I say interesting because you don't realise how good we have it here until you go over to a place like that and see how other people live. So we're very fortunate for what we've got here. It was a huge event for the coalition to try and bring stability to that country. A lot of us on the ground just knew that it was never going to be possible to bring democracy, if you will, to that part of the world that quite frankly didn't want it. And so it was no surprise to us when we saw the events a few years later when it all collapsed and the
It was
Taliban.
chaotic, wasn't it? When
It
they
was,
bailed out
and
of
for a lot of soldiers I know that are hurting out there after it, because we gave so much of ourselves to that country. But what I think is important to understand is that we gave a generation of people there for that 20 years a taste of freedom, relative stability. A whole generation of women got to get educated, and fortunately, a lot of those women grew up to work in great industries, or maybe even leave the country and make something of themselves.
You've made the point that this is not a book about a special forces soldier, a commando, or anything like this. This is about a regular soldier's story. Why was that important to you?
Look, it's important to me because when you walk into the bookshops, you see a lot of stories about World War II history, a lot of biographies about generals, a lot of special forces soldiers, and I don't for a minute try and take anything away from those people that did that. I think they did a fantastic job in service of our nation, but there's just not a lot of books on the bookshelves that represent a regular soldier's experience and what we get up to, right from the basic training right through to all the different and varied operations that we went to. For instance, East Timor, Pakistan, New Guinea, and Afghanistan. So many different places, not just the regular Afghanistan story.
As you know, they're having trouble recruiting people at the moment. So if there's anyone out there who's wavering or sitting on the fence and you think, I should learn more about what it would be like in the Defence Force before signing up, you may want to grab a copy of this book. It's out right now. Stop Screaming, I'm Scared Too, an Australian soldier's story. Rod Henderson with stories from East Timor, Pakistan, Papua New Guinea and Afghanistan. We've only just touched the surface in our conversation this morning. And if you want to grab a copy, go to rodhendersonauthor.com.au, rodhendersonauthor.com.au. It's available right now in all good bookstores too. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. And I'm sure plenty of people will grab a copy of the book.
Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate you having me on, mate. An opportunity to talk about my story.
My pleasure. Check it out right now. The title, Stop Screaming, I'm Scared Too.
2GB Unpacked with Hearing Australia.